Get ready to get sticky. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Corona Crush. Corona Crush is creating Jewish couples always. Join the Facebook group. Just search Corona Crush and look out for virtual speed dating events happening every other week. They're 100% free and 100% Jewish.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sticky Situations. I'm your host, Rachel, which obviously you already know because I'm unforgettable. Everyone, right now, whatever platform you're listening on, go give us a 5-star rating and a glowing review. Everyone, go like Sticky Situations page on Facebook, follow Sticky Situations Pod on Instagram, follow Sticky Situations Pod on TikTok. And if you would like to be a guest on my podcast, I need more guests. The podcast is going to end if I don't have more guests. I know I keep saying it, but it's true. So come be a guest. It's a lot of fun and it's anonymous. It's fun and anonymous. So and I know all of you have stories. I don't care if you're married for years. I know you have stories from your dating days. So come be a guest on the podcast. There is an application in all of the Corona Crush posts, but you can also just send me a DM on Instagram at Sticky Situations Pod or send me an email at stickysituationspod@gmail.com. If you'd like to date any of my single guests, you can reach out the same way. And yeah, but really come on and be a guest. That's my real plug. I need more guests. I like meeting my listeners. I like when different people come on the podcast. So come on the podcast. Anyway, and of course I pressure all of my friends who I see in person to come on the podcast. And I just I don't pressure them. If somebody really says no, I really don't want to, I'm so uncomfortable, I won't bother them. But the people who do want to, I'm like, okay, come on the podcast because it's gonna end because I need more people. So I feel like this episode has been a long time in the making, so I'm really excited about it. So everyone, please welcome my friend Leah. Leah, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
I'm so excited.
I'm also so excited.
I know Leah is a longtime listener and supporter of Sticky Situations, so I'm really excited to finally have her here. So Leah, before we get into your stories, can you tell me and my listeners just some identifying details so they can kind of gauge your dating pool and everything? Your age, location, relationship status, and religious denomination.
Cool. My name is Leah. My age is 27. My location is New York City. My relationship status is in a relationship. And what was the last one?
Religious denomination.
Religious denomination. I consider myself modern Orthodox.
Okay. So should we just jump right in?
Let's do it.
Okay. Leah, do you wanna tell a story?
Sure. So here's what's so funny is in coming to see you, I didn't know what kind of stories I would tell because I'm in a relationship right now, but this has also been my first relationship.
Oh, wow.
So to a degree, I don't really have that many stories. I feel very lucky to have landed where I am with the person I'm with, and the circumstances that led to that. But there really wasn't much going on before that. That being said, there are tidbits and funny, quirky things here and there that I guess I could bring up. For example, one of the things that I don't know if I could say it was keeping me from having a relationship, but it definitely didn't help that all the guys that I was crushing on turned out to be gay. And so that's what I get, I guess, for working in the theater. I majored in theater in college, so that's what I get for hanging out with men who like theater, is that sometimes they're not always straight, which is fine, but it didn't work for me. The first one, really, I knew from growing up. He was my best friend growing up. And then I moved away when I was 11, and I was from 11 onward just harboring the biggest crush on him. And I literally was convinced that he and I would get married, move back to where I'm originally from, white picket fence. We would be like the Brady Bunch classic, moved back there family. And so all throughout high school, I was like, holding this torch and candle for him. Like every time I would go back to my hometown to visit, I'd like hope that he would look at me the right way, or that he would like text me back if I like sent him a text once or twice. This was when I was in like 8th grade, 10th grade, whatever. My sister, bless her, was like, Leah, get over yourself. Like he literally doesn't care about you. But I was like, no, I'm sure, I'm certain. And then when I was in Israel for the year, he was also in Israel for the year. And our families are very close. So his dad was like, it really would be so wonderful if while you guys are both in Israel, you guys could like go out on a Friday afternoon, see each other, whatever. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So I made sure that it would happen. And I ended up going to Ben Yehuda on a Friday with my best friend from growing up, who I was madly in love with and just always hoped he would notice me. And we ended up sitting down and I was like, oh my God, it like totally looks like I'm on a date with him. Like, oh my God. And one girl from my seminary stopped by and was like, oh, Leah, who are you with? And I was like, literally, he could not, like, he was not thinking of me that way at all. And then like the day came and went, and I was like, I think I have to make peace with the fact that this isn't ever going to happen. So that's what happened there. But then when we were like 19, or a year or so later, he was like, hey, Leah, do you mind if I give you a call sometime? And I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Like, dreams come true. And I told my sister, I was like, oh my God, he's going to call me. He wants to talk to me. And she was like, yeah, okay, just get on the phone call. Meanwhile, she and my brother already knew that he was gay.
Oh.
He had already come out to them, but he didn't come out to me because sweet. He was like, I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know how you would take it, which means like I'm so not as
So
good
he
as hiding.
knew.
Oh, he would be dumb to not realize, even from like the age of 9, if we're like playing capture the flag in his backyard and I'm obsessively chasing him. Like, of course I love this boy. But anyway, he was like, just want to let you know that I'm gay. And I was like, okay. I
It is
love you.
soul crushing.
It's a little soul crushing.
But great for him that like also I feel like that's the best possible scenario to happen if you have a crush that's unreciprocated. Like it's not you. It's the fact that you're a woman.
Yeah, no, it's not, it wasn't me at all. And also what's great now is we're still very good friends. Our families are still super close. I actually saw him a couple weeks ago. And there's something about having seen him like grow into his own as an adult and in terms of his identity and who he is, that's really great and awesome just because he's one of my best friends ever. And it's great to just now see him in a way that like he shows up as himself and he doesn't, he's not BSing anyone for anything, which is great. So I'm happy for him, but I never ended up dating him. That's the story. That's one story. But you would think that it would be enough to like only crush unreciprocated towards one gay person, but it happened to me twice. So it begs the question, this is my problem, right?
I mean, like, I can see it. I can see like it happening because like the guys who I know who have like come out as gay afterwards, they're just really good friends and they're really attentive and like it's like, oh, this is what it'd be like to like, I don't know. I've had close guy friends who have later come out and like once they come out, it makes total sense. And I like sometimes know in my head, but also while we were friends, I'm like, not that I had crushes on them or like thought it was gonna happen, because I think I have an okay like sense for it. And so far I haven't been wrong. But it I get it. I get the appeal because I'm like, wait, this was before I ever had a boyfriend. So like I'm like, this is what it feels like probably to have a boyfriend. Like he's so attentive, he's so good, like he just gets it. Like
right. So for me, my gaydar is notoriously skewed and out of whack and not good. I have a close family member who's gay. And so having grown up with that person all the time, I feel like maybe I internalized their personality and quirks and behaviors that maybe to the outside world very stereotypically gay. I maybe internalize that as just very like normal, typical behavior for a young boy, teenager to have. So that when I would see it on other people, I'd be like, oh, this is typical, normal, heterosexual leaning behavior. When really, like, there's no template or script for how any person, gay, straight, bi, anywhere, how they should act and present. But I do feel that being in such close proximity did skew my gaydar a little bit, to the point that it did come back to bite me a little. The other time, and again, this is where the theater thing comes in, which is I was doing theater in college, and it was at YU, and it was the first joint SCDS, Stern College Dramatic Society, YCDS, Yeshiva College Dramatic Society production, and it was a staged reading of Blue, which is a funny movie if anyone's ever seen it. I only just saw it, but it was really funny. And so I was in rehearsals for a few weeks with this guy, and I was like, he is so wonderful. He served in the army. He like has plans to make Aliyah. He's also pre-med. Like, he had everything going for him. He was like tall and cute. And like, I was like, and he loves the theater. This is amazing. And then I was telling another sister of mine, like, yeah, like I met this guy, and he's really fun, and we have a good time together, and like I'm not above asking anyone out. So I was like, maybe I would ask him out. And she was like, Leah, I don't know what the protocol is in terms of like outing people, but I'm pretty sure he's gay. And I was like, oh, well, I guess that's my thing now. So yeah,
Was he out?
I can't recall exactly. I know now that he is.
Okay.
I can't recall at that time, actually.
I just want to make sure, like, he actually was.
Right. So I think if
you never asked him.
Right. So like if my sister, who kind of more peripherally knew he was gay,
Oh, okay.
then it must have been
so she
common
knew
knowledge enough that at the very least he wasn't dating women.
Yeah.
Or he wasn't dating right now. Or he would say no if I asked, or something like that.
Okay.
But anyway, I was like, damn it.
All the good ones.
All the good ones.
It's funny because I mean, we're recording. You're probably gonna be listening to this like way after we record this, but Sabrina Carpenter's new album came out like not that long ago, and she has this song called Slim Pickens, and like she just like goes through all like the reasons like none of these guys are good, and I can't remember I need to look this up. It's something about like him being gay or something, or like all the good ones are deceased or gay. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up because it's just funny. Because like you said, he's a doctor, he's good looking, or pre-med, good looking, has the same interests as you.
A soldier.
I don't know, she says the good ones are deceased or taken, but I thought she has a line that says gay. Oh, no, she's never mind. She's like, since the Lord forgot my gay awakening. But I think she has a line somewhere else. I don't know. But it would have fit well.
Funny.
But I also do think, in your defense, and this is what I've been told, and I'm not stereotyping anyone. I think everyone should just be who they are. I do feel like a lot of the guys in our communities are a little bit feminine.
Let's talk about that.
Not all of them. I just feel like a lot of them are. So like I can see where it's hard to distinguish, like, oh, are you just Jew boy feminine or
When you say Jew boy feminine, do you mean in touch with their feminine side or effeminate? Which, of course, even that conversation is perpetuating a sort of stereotype or categorization of like reduction, simplification of personalities and how people conduct themselves in the world. But do you mean like in touch with their feminine side and sensitive and compassionate, or effeminate? Like presenting more feminine?
I would say the latter.
Presenting more feminine.
Presenting more feminine.
Interesting.
At least in my experience. It's also funny because I really liked this guy, and I talked about this before. I didn't really think he was feminine. But my brother met him because this was like we all lived in the same neighborhood, and my brother would like come to me for Shabbat meals a lot, and I would do Shabbat meals with this guy. Um, the history with him is longer, and I've talked about it in previous episodes. But literally, the first time my brother met him, I was like asking him after because I really like this guy. I don't think I even told my brother that I liked him, but I was just like sussing out his thoughts. So I was like, "Oh, are you gonna get along with him when we get married?" Like, and my brother's like, "Oh, he's gay."
Oh,
But like he says everyone's gay. So I'm like, I don't trust your judgment. As far as I know, this guy is married to a woman, and which doesn't mean anything, but like,
right.
but then once he said it, I could see like, okay, I get a little bit of a feminine vibe. And like I have noticed other guys that I've liked, I do see a little bit of a feminine vibe. But I think it's just like we coddle boys. And so they act a certain way or they talk. I think it's just like the way he was talking and his mannerisms. My brother's like, he's gay. I'm like,
Right. So
doesn't mean anything.
I mean, thankfully, my boyfriend, the guy man who I'm currently dating, is straight. I'm quite certain because he himself has told me that he is straight, and I will trust him and take him at his word. And that being said, my straight boyfriend also loves rom-coms, and his favorite movie is Pitch Perfect. So
I love that.
right. So we have that in common.
Also, like any man who loves Taylor Swift, like that's a green flag.
I mean, for you, of course.
Yeah, for me, of course. Like if I talk to a guy about Taylor Swift, like, and I've definitely put like certain dating app prompts as Taylor Swift. So I know, so I've had discussions with guys about Taylor Swift, or like I've talked to guys, like even some of my friends, like one of my friends, her husband, like, is a semi Swiftie because of her. Like,
Right.
I consider that a green flag. That's something definitely more feminine, but
I would argue that it's
a
more
green
just
flag.
in touch with pop culture.
That's true.
Because I, unlike you, who you are devoted, loyal, two-time Eras tour goer,
3 times.
3 times, pardon me.
Hopefully by the time you guys are listening to this more, but
You never know.
you never know. I just don't want to drop thousands of dollars on tickets.
All that to say, I like Taylor Swift just as much as the next person. I don't really keep up with her new releases, but when I hear the songs, I'm like, good for Taylor Swift. She put out some good music. I respect the heck out of her as a businesswoman and just entity. I think she's a genius. And there's something about, in my obsession with pop culture and celebrity culture and like seeing the big high profile relationship she's having with Travis Kelce, I didn't think I cared so much until I realized that I've been talking about it incessantly for the past year, to the point that my roommate, for our roommate like mystery McAdee, and I thought she was a little weird for getting me this gift at first. I was like, I don't talk about it that much. But then I realized, wait, I actually do. She got me a doormat that says, in this house, we listen to Taylor's version.
Oh, I love that.
And she was like, because you talk about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce all the time. I was like, no, I don't. But now I embrace it, and I totally do. So anyway, that's all to say.
It is good pop culture. But like the guys who care, like there are the guys that are like, oh, she's running the NFL. Like, I hate seeing her for 30 seconds on my screen during a game.
Oh no. My boyfriend and I full on had a very intense, deliberate over-under during the NFL season.
I love that.
About how many times she would show up on the screen. and we were both incredibly disappointed when it did not go over our line of 8.
Yeah.
It was less. And we were like, we need more Taylor. This is obnoxious. How dare you deprive us?
Good. I'm glad to hear that healthy relationships exist.
Oh yeah. So healthy.
And good men exist.
It's so healthy. It's so good. Thank God.
Betting on Taylor Swift and being disappointed that she wasn't shown enough.
Right. No, but in terms of what you were talking about like similar interests and the guy who you're with being like interested in what you're interested in. I'm not saying that all of a sudden, for example, like my love for theater and Broadway, I'm not saying all of a sudden that whoever I'm dating has to drop dollars on dollars on dollars to take me to shows all the time. Like, I will be the first to tell you that I should probably budget more and not do that. And I want to pat myself on the back. In the past calendar year, I have been much better at that. But it was on my, in terms of like short list or list of things that I was looking for in a guy. I didn't feel necessarily that I had a type, but I did feel that when people would ask me, oh, Leah, what are you looking for? One of the things I would make sure to mention is that he has to have an appreciation for the arts, because I would feel like if someone can tick that checkbox, that's indicative of other things about their personality that would jive with me.
Yeah.
So I was like, he has to be, at the very least, interested on letting me talk his ear off about it, or be actively participatory and like going along with me and like going along for the ride with me in that. But yeah, it would be a shame to not have to share your interest with someone. And for the record, my boyfriend is the luckiest guy in the world, because I also really like sports. And he tells me all the time, he's like, I am so lucky. And I was like, hell yeah, you're very lucky, because I don't care if you turn the football game on. I don't care if you want to take me to a hockey game. I would love to go to a hockey game, all these things. So yeah, it's good to show interest in the other person's interests.
Yeah. And I think it's also like, even if you're not particularly interested in something, it's nice if you care about someone to at least try.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I've past relationships of mine, we definitely didn't share all the same interests, but like, I don't know, he would make an effort to like talk about something that I brought up or was interested in, and like try to do that, and like I would listen to sports talk.
Right. Yeah.
Like things like that. I think it is good when you share interests.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's also, I think it's just showing you care.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Like if I cared about a guy, I would sit with him while he watched a football game. I would be on my phone the whole time.
Right.
And I might put headphones in to watch TikTok, but I would sit with him.
Right. Right.
If we went to a sports game, I would like let him explain it to me a little bit.
Right.
I also might play on my phone for a little bit, but I'll be there.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's about showing up. If the intention's there.
Yeah. As long as he lets me play Taylor Swift in the car.
Oh, that's a very reasonable negotiation, I think. Very reasonable.
Yeah, and I think that's also like showing you care about someone is like taking interest in their interests.
Yeah.
Like I've had guys listen to Taylor Swift for me.
Bless them. They're better off doing it.
Even guys that haven't dated.
They're better off for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I didn't mean, I hope I wasn't offending anyone when I said anything about some of the guys in our community being more feminine or whatever. That wasn't meant as like an insult. It's just something that I've noticed and other people have said, because I think it's like changed my mindset too. Because it's like, oh, I don't know what it is, but
interesting. I don't know if I've ever really thought about that or thought of it that way.
I think someone else pointed it out.
I'm also just very oblivious. Like I kind of just I like to think that I'm smart. But also there are things I don't notice. And there are things that I take for granted. So for all we know, what you're saying may have some serious backing in data and etc. But I'm like, sure, I'll take your word for it. Or you don't have to work too hard to convince me. That's not to say that I'm like, it's probably not a blanket statement for every guy.
No, it's definitely not a blanket statement. I've just noticed it with a lot of guys. I'm pretty sure someone pointed it out to me, and when someone points something out to you and you can't unsee it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
But again, not to offend anyone. I'm not judging anyone. That's why I just like sometimes I don't just assume if somebody acts a little bit more one way or another, like assume their sexuality.
Right. Talk about offensive. You tell me if this is an offensive date. I don't know if it's an offensive date, but maybe it's just like way out of left field and weird.
Okay.
Maybe not romantic or conducive to producing future dates. And I have this on my mind because I don't know when you fine listeners will be listening, but it is currently September 12th. Yesterday was September the 11th. This time last year, okay, wait. I happen to have gone to, wait. I did go to the September 11th memorial, the memorial pools at Ground Zero last night, on September 11th. In the past few years, or the years that I've been living in the city, it's been my kind of personal tradition and kind of pilgrimage and way of paying tribute to go to the Battery, to Ground Zero, once the memorial opens to the public. And I think it's really meaningful. And I like sharing that with people I know because, call it weird, but the Ground Zero Memorial and Museum area is one of my favorite places in all of New York City. So I like to share that with people. So last night, my boyfriend and I and a couple of our other friends actually went. That being said, this time last year, I was actively trying to woo a guy. And my way of actively trying to woo him was to invite him to come with me to the 9/11 memorial.
Oh, wow.
Is that effective? It was not effective. I don't think it is. But that's all to say. You're talking to someone who really doesn't know what she's doing. And I thought it would be a good idea to like bond to get to know someone by like taking them to a memorial for a terrorist attack on the anniversary of the terrorist attack. So that's what you're working with here.
Honestly,
talk about sticky situations. It's quite sticky.
I think it's like, I guess I would need a little bit more background of it.
Oh, okay. Let me tell you about this guy I was actively trying.
Did you ever hang out with him before?
Okay. So I met this guy at a kiddish, as one does. And I was like, yes, I want to see more of that. So I sussed out a little bit, found out he went to college with one of my friends, asked my friend, the mutual friend, you have to send me this guy's number. Like, I have to be put in touch with this guy. And I even went so far, I'm a very like, take life as it comes to you kind of person. I'm not going to really wait for things to come to me. So if I want something, I'm going to put myself forward. Like I owe it to myself to give myself the best chance at it. So when I started to like really be interested in this guy, I asked the mutual friend, I was like, listen, I know he just moved to the neighborhood and he still might be settling in, but if you know whether or not he's open to dating and he would be open to dating me, hit me up because I'm very interested. Should he be interested? I ended up trying to like claw my way in by texting the guy I was interested in. Welcome to the neighborhood. Like, would love to get to know you more. Would you like to go out for coffee? Which is objectively asking someone out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 100%.
Unless you're dumb.
Yeah. I feel like I'm dumb to convince myself that like it's not a date when like objectively I'm like going out on a date with this guy. And it probably looks like a date. It's like if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck.
I've been there. Don't worry.
Yeah. So went out to coffee with this guy. I feel like I was laying it on kind of thick, but laid a foundation for like a good friendship and getting to know each other more. He did say, like, tell me to my face, like, our mutual friend mentioned that maybe you'd be interested in dating. And I was like, oh, what? And then he said, I'm like really flattered, but I'm not interested right now. I'm still settling in, whatever. And I was like, okay, he didn't chalk it up to like not wanting to go out with me. He chalked it up to the fact that he was still settling in. So I was like, I'm still in the game here. I just have to play it right. I'm delusional. I'm just lucky that things turned out for me the way I did, that now I'm like in a relationship and I don't have to worry about playing the game like that so much, but I sucked at playing the game at all. So I'm just lucky to be out of there alive. But it was like around that time that I was still trying to like show face and stay relevant to him. Like I wanted to keep showing up places.
Yeah.
So like I wouldn't leave his mind, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, the best way to stay relevant is to say, I have a tradition of going to the September 11th memorial. Would you like to come with me? It'll be a really great experience. And he came, he was game.
Was it just you two?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like meaningful and it was great. And we continued to be friendly. But at that point, I was like, if he's not going to be picking up what I'm throwing, then I don't have to work so hard and I don't have to push myself.
Yeah.
He ended up moving to Israel to learn for a couple years in yeshiva. So that's nice. But he's lovely and a good guy. So best of luck to him. And when he comes back to the city,
straight.
yeah, from what I know, at least he's straight.
Yeah,
See?
so
I didn't get far enough into it to even find out. That's the thing. In a way, I'm glad I wasn't, because if it was 3 times, then it would have been a chazaka, and then we'd really have a problem.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
But listen, now a year later, you're in such a different place.
That's so funny. I didn't think of it that way. I've kind of just been thinking this time a year ago, I was actively trying to woo a guy and took him to the 9/11 memorial, when really the more healthy and positive way to look at it is, oh, wow, look at how far I've come in a year.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate you saying that. That's
Yeah.
nice.
A lot can happen in a year.
A lot.
And I like to remind myself of that.
Yeah.
Like this time a year ago, actually nothing was going on in my life. So
Mm.
no, I just moved apartments.
Oh, well,
That's like a big thing.
moving sucks.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal to like start a move and finish a move and come out alive, I think.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. And I re-signed my lease. So no moving this year.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
But it just like sometimes it makes you think like, oh, how far have I come?
Mm.
And sometimes I think back, it's usually around my birthday where I'll like start thinking like that.
When's your birthday?
November 2nd.
October 10th. So they're coming up.
Yeah, but they'll probably have passed by the time you guys listen. But yeah. And I feel like I haven't changed that much since my last birthday, but I feel like I've done a lot.
I feel like I haven't changed a lot, but the circumstances of my life have changed a lot, actually quite recently. Like in the past 6 months, I've gotten the most change
Mm-hmm.
in terms of being in a relationship, getting a job, other milestones of like a roommate getting married and a best friend getting married and a sister getting married, and generally just trying to enter into this new stage of life. So that's been the last 6 months for me,
Wow.
which has been very like intense. I don't know if I would say that I myself have changed, because when I look inside and I get introspective, the same sort of self-talk, good or bad, the same sort of image that I identify to be myself, and all those things I feel like haven't really changed. But the circumstances in which I exist have changed. And so I feel like looking forward to this coming year, I'm looking forward to see if the circumstances actually change me. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It's an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah.
So on your next birthday, you can look back to this time.
Yeah. And that's a sham by me.
But it does show like so much like I don't know, not to get because I'm pretty cynical in general, but just like to look at the positive sometimes, you never know what's gonna happen. And like you said, you had so much happen in 6 months.
Yeah.
Like that it's crazy because I was talking to someone, one of my friends had a baby
Muzzles.
almost a year ago at this point. And we were talking about him. I think this was probably around his like eight month mark. And I was like, wow, 8 months ago, my life was the same. Nothing really drastic has except for seeing Taylor Swift next year a couple times. Like, but nothing really drastic has changed in my life. Like, same job, same apartment, same relationship status, same friend status, same like everything. Like, nothing crazy. But I'm like, in 8 months, like nothing happened in my life. But his life,
Oh.
he's had his
Right, he became a parent.
he's had this like no the baby even like yeah of
Right.
course my friend became like she had a baby and like she's a mom like she has to take care of a kid but like I don't know we were also comparing because I met him like shortly after he was born so like the comparison of like me with the baby right at like within a couple months after he was born to what he is now like the pictures like I have pictures with him.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, wait, he literally had so much change in the last 8 months, whereas my life changed zero. But I feel like either everything changes all at once, like in 3 months, your life could be totally, totally different or exactly the same. And I find, at least in my life, there's no in between. It's like either like tons and tons of change, like really fast, everything, or it's like stays the same forever.
I feel like the past couple years of my life had been the same, the same, the same, the same, the same.
Mhm.
And now I'm hitting the change. And it's big. It's hitting me like a brick wall.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Like new job, new routine.
And things like keep coming. Like I feel like I had that, I think from the time I graduated college up in probably until like COVID time, everything was the same. That was like my early 20s. It was all the same. And then COVID hit, and then like everything starts changing. I moved, I had relationships, I changed jobs a couple of times, like everything just like changed all. I had a few years there, like my late 20s, where everything just like changed all at once. And now I'm back to like, no, everything's the same now.
Yeah.
But that's life.
That's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take a break really quick to hear a word from our sponsors.
Okay.
And then we'll be right back.
Sticky Situations is sponsored by Corona Crush. Are you tired of swiping on dating apps? Tired of guessing whether the cute guy or girl you keep seeing around is Jewish and or single? Then you need to run, not walk, to join Corona Crush. Corona Crush is a Jewish organization working to create Jewish couples always. Corona Crush has over 30 confirmed engagements, over 22,000 members from all over the world, and has set up over 50,000 speed dates. Join the Corona Crush Facebook group and post yourself or have a friend post you and see who reaches out. Fill out the survey to sign up for virtual speed dating events happening every other week. Corona Crush is 100% free and 100% Jewish. Worst case, you end up with some stories of your own. Best case, you find the love of your life. Try it out today. Here on Sticky Situations, we tend to focus on bad dating stories, but sometimes dates do go well and lead to proposals and weddings. Who would have thought? And what do all of those require, you might be asking? Well, the answer is flowers. Who doesn't want flowers from someone they've been seeing? Don't forget, flower petals and bouquets needed for proposals. And that's even before all the flowers that go into weddings. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Primrose Flower Shop. In my opinion, Primrose is the coolest flower shop around and has the best customer service to fulfill all of your floral needs. Primrose offers a range of services from your basic bouquets to subscription services where you can get flowers delivered once a week. They deliver all over the tri state area, including Manhattan. Primrose does weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, and other simchas. I've personally been to a wedding where Primrose did the flowers, and the work they did was beyond gorgeous. Primrose additionally offers in store proposals, including a romantic setup with candles and music. Primrose is located at 2922 Avenue M in Brooklyn, and the phone number is 929 376 9815. You can also follow Primrose on Instagram at PrimroseNY. So, if you can't get someone out of your head, buy them some flowers from Primrose. They'll either love it or they'll find you really creepy. But regardless, the flowers will be out of this world.
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
We're back. Okay, Leah, do you have any other stories you want to share?
That's the thing, is like, I feel like I don't have that much to say, which sucks. Oh my God. Okay, I'll tell you the story of my first date with my boyfriend. Okay.
Okay.
It was very shticky because, okay, I don't know if you've ever been to this place called Snooker NYC. Have you ever been there?
I've heard that's the pool place, right?
Yes. Okay.
I've heard of it. I haven't
Okay.
been, but I've heard of it.
So we decide that we're gonna go. It was our first date, and we were friends first, so we were kind of just like discovering like what this new dynamic would be. Should we really like go all in on the going out? And so it wasn't really high stakes, but it was just like a new feel going into hanging out with him. And so we were like, okay, let's go. It'll be chill. It'll be good. We'll like play some pool. There's food there. We'll like get like drinks, burgers, fries, whatever. We'll go. So we go. It's like in like Midtown West. And so we get there and we realize that it's in the same location as the restaurant Tempura.
Oh, actually, I've never played pool, but I've walked through there.
Okay. So Tempura, you have to, like, the building looks like a weird architectural mix of like an office building, a hotel, a corporate like warehouse. Like, it's just like a weird looking building. And it doesn't say like tempura on the storefront.
No, it's like you have to like know.
Right. It doesn't say like snooker on the storefront, so you don't know. So we walk in because that's where the address says we have to go. And we see the sign for tempura, and then we have to like look around a big corner to finally see this neon sign that says like Snooker NYC pointing downstairs. So we go downstairs, and it literally looked like a labyrinth maze of like cubicle office buildings, like rental spaces, like office spaces, just waiting to be put to use. And then somewhere else on that floor is this space that was converted into like a pool bar. Really weird. So we were like, okay. So we go in, there's no one there. The lights are off. TVs aren't on. There's no one behind the desk. Like, it was really weird. So we're like, okay, does this place like exist? Is it defunct? Like, what's the deal? We go back up the stairs to Tempura. And we asked the maitre d' there, like, do you know what the deal is with the pool place downstairs? And it was just such a classic, like, Hamish, I'm in a Jewish restaurant thing, where he was like, oh, shoot, right, yeah, I have to open that place up. And we were like, what the heck? Like, you said you were going to be open. It was so ridiculous. So then we go back downstairs. This time when we go back downstairs, also waiting at the door to Snookers. I don't know if it's Snookers plural or Snooker singular. Either way, it's a weird name. I know it means pool, but it's still a weird name. And there's like two Chabad bros just like there waiting to go in on like a Thursday night to play pool. And we're like, okay, cool. Us and the Chabad bros, real romantic. Let's do it. We go in and they have like Jewish / Israeli pop music on like not ad-free Pandora playing on the speakerphone, playing on the speaker. And
The non-ad free kills me.
it's so funny. It was so funny. They had like Final Four on one of the TVs, basketball, and then they had like Fox News on another TV. And then like, and he and I, my date and I were worried that like we would have to fight for a pool table once we got there. It was literally just us. It was so weird. And then another like 3 or 4 Chabad bros showed up.
Were they all together?
Yeah. They were all
okay.
together. They were this group. And it was just really funny because this was also right around the time when there were all those headlines about the tunnels under 770.
Oh my gosh.
So my date, now boyfriend, was like, oh, so this is where the tunnels end up. And I was like,
oh my God.
That's funny.
So funny.
Oh my gosh. So we're playing pool, we're having a good time. Oh my God, it all comes full circle. Remember my first like crush who I love so dearly turned out to be gay? I learned to play pool in his basement. His family had a pool table in their basement. So when I went into this date, I was like, I got years under my belt of like playing pool in my friend's basement. I'm gonna school you so hard. And it was like kind of even. It was fine. None of us were like super good at it. But that's all to say it all comes full circle.
That is funny.
It was really funny. So then we're playing, we're having a time, whatever, listening to the different like Toyota ads in between like Chaim Shalanu Tutim and like Morty Shaps. And then the Chabad bros, their food starts arriving. Like one of them has a beer, one of them has a soda, one of them has fries. And we're like, okay, let's order food. We look at the menu. It's the same menu as tempura. It's the tempura menu.
Yeah.
Which like tempura and pool don't go together. It was really weird.
Can you get from Spice next door?
No.
I thought it's the same, all the same.
Either way,
ownership.
it's like a whole other rant I can go on now about Jewish / kosher food establishments not picking a lane.
Oh, yeah.
Pick a lane. Like, I remember this is like, we're already 15 years past this point. So you should probably be like, Leah, like, get over it. But like 15 or so years ago, when sushi started showing up in every pizza joint, it's like, pick a lane, you know? So I was just getting really weirded out that like the sushi menu isn't to hate, be a sushi menu, but then don't also have onion rings. But then also like don't have onion rings and not have burgers.
Yeah.
Like pick a lane. So that's when we were like, we need to choose something else for food. So we ended up going to Mr. Broadway instead. And that's when it started feeling a little more like a real date because I was like sitting across from him and it was like cute, but different and whatever. But that's all to say that our first date was so funny. And we walked out of Snooker to go to Mr. Broadway. And he was so nervous. He was like, so that was not a good date. I was like, really? It's fine. He was like, I feel assured knowing that we were friends enough beforehand that you're going to give me a second chance and you're going to be willing to look past this. But objectively, if we were strangers and this was a first date, I would not be getting a second date. I was like, I got to agree with you there. It was just so weird. It was so weird.
Sometimes even when weird stuff like that happens, if you like the person, the circumstances can be weird, but it's like,
yeah,
it's like how the situation's handled.
Yeah, no, definitely how the situation's handled. I think that the general vibe or idea of going to play pool for a first date, like I went once on one date with some other guy. I went to an arcade, and I think places like that are really fun because it's a great little bubble vacuum atmosphere to lean into that like flirty competitive side,
Yeah.
which I think is really fun. So I was all in to do that for pool, you know, but the weird like mix of things on the TV and the weird music and the fact that like no one was behind the desk and then we almost ordered sushi. It was just weird. But yeah, he did handle it very gentlemanlike. It was nice.
Like, if I had been on a date like that, as long as the guy was like normal and we like kind of laughed about it,
Right. Yes.
I think like
100%.
I would give him another date.
Oh,
Like, it's
we
not
were
his
laughing a lot.
fault.
Yeah, no, we were laughing a lot.
Yeah.
But
I
I
think
can
sometimes
understand how like if we were strangers, even just
Yeah.
finding the place was weird. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to have to navigate through a labyrinth of like empty office spaces with a guy I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But if he had been the one to like look it up, plan it, like make all the effort, and then it just ended up being like whatever, it's fine because
Right.
like he doesn't know, but
Oh yeah.
I appreciate that he put the effort into planning it and like actually trying to do something.
Yeah. I mean, we hold that memory quite close to our hearts. It was very funny. We hold that really close to our hearts. And so for our 6-month anniversary that's coming up, I can say this because it's not a spoiler, because
It'll have
I
already
think this
happened.
episode will come out after that.
Mhm.
But I went on Etsy and I ordered, I can't believe I'm saying this. That's so funny. I haven't told anyone this.
I'm so honored.
Oh yeah. Exclusive for sticky situations. I ordered him a custom magic 8-ball. And it has all these different like little jokes and things and like personal stuff in the 8-ball. So I'm really excited for that to arrive.
You're
I think
cute
it's
that
gonna
you
come
like
great.
got something for 6 months.
I feel like we try to just hit like little milestones along the way.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at things.
So yeah, it's fun. Hooray, 8-ball.
I'm excited.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited. This is so funny.
Honestly, I'm just excited to get the package. I'm excited to get mail. I love getting mail. So yeah.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Like,
It's good.
although sometimes my doorman will be like, "Oh, you have a package," and I'm like, "What did I order this time?"
Oh, right.
Like, I forget what I ordered.
Yeah.
But no, but that's so fun.
It'll be good.
I hope he gets you something good too.
Oh, I hope so.
I don't know if you can tell me if you're not comfortable talking about this, but I would just wanted to know a little bit, if you wanted to share it all, what it was like going from friends to dating and like how that transitioned, who said it to who, like did you know when you were friends, like
That's also a sticky situation.
any of that, and only what you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable.
Oh no, totally fine. So I have a couple sisters. I mean, I have a lot of sisters, but a couple out of my lot of sisters were friends with their now husbands before starting to date them. And I always looked at that thinking like, oh, if only it could happen like that for me. Like, we should all be so lucky to just like spend time with a guy and have it work out that way and whatever. And I really do like thank Hashem every day. Thank God that I put in the effort that I wanted to make this happen and to see it come to fruition and to be in a relationship and work towards it, because like you got to put in what you can, and I owe it to myself to do the hard work to make things happen for myself. But I'm glad that the pieces were put in place, that it happened pretty naturally, not without some nudging on my part, and it took a while for him to catch on, but eventually he came around and got with the program. And so yeah, we met when he moved to the neighborhood and he was living with a friend of mine, and I had invited that friend for dinner on Shabbos to my place. And I was like, oh, and I remember you telling me you have a new roommate, feel free to bring them. And I remember after that meal, just like he didn't make like a lasting, oh my gosh, I love this person impression or whatever, but I just remember thinking like, oh, good for my friend. He has a normal guy as a roommate. Like that was pretty much the thought. But we kind of started going around the same circle of friends through shul and things and spending time together at shul events and all these different things. And I can't recall exactly what it was that had us like initially in touch over text more than we usually would. But all of a sudden we were like texting until like 12:31 in the morning. And like that's not something that happens with just anybody.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, something's happening here. And I wasn't sure what really was happening. But I was like, I guess if he were to ask me out, I guess I'd say yes. So like, let's see where this goes. And then I thought he asked me to a hockey game because he said he was going to a hockey game and asked me, would you like to go to the hockey game with me? And I was like, this is so weird. Why is he asking me to go to a hockey game? To this day, he'll deny that he ever asked me to go to a hockey game with him. But, and I like wasn't available to go anyway. But I was like, you don't just ask someone to go to a hockey game with you. But he'll deny he ever did that. Anyway.
Why? You don't, but you asked the other guy to go to the 9/11 thing with you.
Exactly.
So what do you think was weirder?
Oh, definitely the 9/11 thing.
Because like you guys were kind of friends at this point. Like you were texting a lot. It's like, oh, I'm going to a hockey game. Do you want to come?
Oh, well, that's an objectively more normal activity.
No, but I'm saying like the level of friendship / relationship.
Oh,
Like,
right.
were you better friends with your current boyfriend then when he like maybe or maybe did not ask you to go to a hockey game? Or with the guy that you asked to go to 9/11?
We were pretty good friends, but I didn't expect him to be on that wavelength. Like my brain was on the wavelength of maybe I could date him. Let's see where this goes. But in a way, he unknowingly like called my bluff. Like I didn't think that he was also on that wavelength. So then I all of a sudden get this text being like, do you want to go to a hockey game with me? And I'm like, holy crap, is he on the same wavelength? So then I was like, oh, there's something actually happening here. Let me send in my minions to like suss it all out. So that's when I started sending in my roommate, started sending in another friend to try to like plant the seeds in his head, like, you should go out with Leah. So what happened was at my friend's engagement party, she gave of her own self and time at her own engagement party to approach him at her engagement party to be like, heard you've been texting Leah a lot. What's going on with that?
Oh, wow.
And I love her, but she kind of scared him off.
Oh.
Which is fine. But also, in his defense, he had gone out on one date with someone else and thought it went relatively well and was just gonna do one girl, one thing at a time and see if that would pan out. And so, power to you. I respect it. That's fine. One thing at a time. But let's just say talkless at that juncture, when I sent someone in to maybe put the idea in his head, the idea didn't go any further. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm not going to put my effort into someone who doesn't want to date me.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need to waste my time and energy. So I kind of just let it lie. But then things started kind of like ticking again of being like, is something happening here? I feel like he actually is interested. I'm not just like guessing that maybe he's interested. So then I was just getting anxious, being like, okay, he's clearly interested. Why isn't he asking me out? So then I had to send in another minion who had good strategy and tact and like all these things to kind of plant the seeds in the right way. I love my friend who at her own engagement party went in head first to do that for me. That is the best friend, most amazing move in the world, to think of someone else on a night when you're celebrating your own love and engagement. And it was just very kind of her. But the second time around, it started to yield more palpable results. And as you know, based on my other stories, I'm not above asking the guy out. But I also think chivalry is not dead.
Yeah.
I believe chivalry is not dead. And selfishly, it would be nice to be asked out. So I was like, I think he likes me enough, and I think he can ask me out. He just needs the grit and perseverance and guts and
Just a little push.
yeah, he just needs the reassurance. Like, if he's not asking me out because he's afraid I'm going to say no, I want him to be reassured that I'll say yes.
Yeah.
Right. Then where are we? Okay, right. So he went on a soul searching trip with some buddies. The trip was already planned, but on that trip, he did a little soul searching. When he was on that trip, I went to a wedding and bumped into his mom, who I had briefly met at another wedding he was at, and it was a whole surprising thing. I'm not going to go into all that because that's just like more detail than necessary. But I saw his mom at this wedding I was at, and I was like, "Are you Blank's mom?" And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "We have to send a picture to him." So I sent a selfie over. Meanwhile, on his soul searching trip, he's thinking, why the heck is Leah with my mom? But he came back with the resolution and the guts that he would ask me out. But meanwhile, I'm getting antsy. And I'm like, why hasn't he asked me out yet? So I made a pact with myself that, like, I'm not going to let the weekend go without getting an answer out of him. I'm not letting him out of my sight. By the end of Shabbos, I will know affirmative or negative whether or not he's going to ask me out. And I kind of jumped the gun a little in that it was the perfect moment for him to ask me. But I was so antsy, so I captured the moment for myself and asked him instead. And to this day, he won't live it down. That was like, dang, you beat me to it that I asked him out. And I'm like, well, dude, like, I've been here, so get with the program. Like, you could have done this 2 weeks ago. You could have done this 3 weeks ago. You could have done this a month ago. But anyway.
Sometimes it's the timing.
And we 100%, we talk about that all the time, how it's all about the timing. But that being said, that's a long way of saying that once we decided to really like talk about dating, for the first little bit, we were keeping it very casual, like exclusive, but like casual in that we're in the same friend group and we wouldn't want to mess anything up in our friend group. What if this doesn't work out? We don't want that to have negative repercussions. We would have conversations very transparently with each other under the topic of, should this not work out? Not in like a pessimist way.
Yeah.
But in a way of just being transparent and mature. And I think just acknowledging all feelings and parties and circumstances and factors involved. And we made it past that point where, thank God, we're now not talking of, should this not work out? I mean, that's to say that we haven't been dating that long. So, like, anything goes and life happens and all these things, but we're very comfortable where we're at right now. But in terms of going from friends to more than friends, I feel that what really helped us along the way was that openness and transparency and honesty of being able to discuss the what ifs. And we were able to just look at it as adults. And then once we got past that point, we were like, oh, okay, great. Now we don't have to think about that anymore. But it was kind of interesting how we went from just like seeing each other once a week to seeing each other almost every day. And so there's a lot to get used to, but overall, in the long run, all turned out pretty well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's definitely, we were nervous that should it not work out, it would be difficult for our friends. And we didn't want that to happen. Like, we didn't want to brew any drama farther out than it needed to be.
Yeah.
So I think in the transition from friends to more than friends, that was something we had on our minds a lot. It didn't last too long. It lasted just the right amount. But we took things slow and we didn't get ahead of ourselves too fast.
Which is good. Like everything sounds like super healthy and communicative.
I like to think so.
Mature.
Yeah, but it's good. It's fun. And it was funny to, at the beginning, like, we decided that we would go for it, but we didn't really have a label on it. We hadn't really been out on a date yet, and like all these things. So we were kind of just like keeping it between us, and like our roommates would find out, and like our siblings would find out, and like the people close to the situation would know. But he would be like, I would see him and he'd like take off on his fingers, like, okay, this person knows, and this person knows, and this person knows, and this person knows, and like, I'm really sorry I took it past our 4-person limit, and this person knows, and this person knows, and this person knows, and I'm like, I don't care, it's fine. But and then even like a month into it, at one point, he was like, yeah, like, I told this person knows now, and I'm like, I've been going out with you for several weeks, like, it's okay that people know that. But it was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my friends and your friend started dating someone that she's friends with, and it's funny because she's like, do you think that person realizes? Like, she's like, I don't know if that person knows that we're dating. Like, it's just like funny. Like, they're open and they're public, but she's just funny because she's like, oh, I don't know. Like, we both got invited to the same meal, but I don't think the person knows we're dating. Like,
right. Yeah. So that's the thing now, is like, I wonder how many Shabbos meals are too many Shabbos meals with him. Like, do I need to develop my own identity? I feel like I do.
I feel like you have your own identity.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, I knew you before you started dating him. So, like, I don't see you as
Right. But I feel like now it's like, and maybe, I guess it's a testament to the fact that I enjoy spending time with him, that I like being able to spend time with him and go to Shabbos meals with him. And like, but we get invited out, like every invite has a +1 baked into it, which is nice, I guess. Because then it means I'll always have someone there that I like and know.
You also have like a lot of the same friends.
Yeah, that's true.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's just so funny because I remember when my roommate started going out with her now husband, I would think like, wow, they really spend every Shabbos meal together. If and when I have a boyfriend, I won't be spending every Shabbos meal with him. But now I'm like, come on. If I get to see him, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, but also
it makes a little sense.
But also, I feel like there's a difference between if you both get invited somewhere and like let's say you get invited somewhere random and like asking him to bring him to every random meal or vice versa.
Right.
I feel like that's where it's like, are we a package? Are we still our own people?
If let's say one person who I'm more distantly friends with were to invite me for a meal on Shabbos and just invite me, not necessarily knowing that I'm dating someone, I would go by myself.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, I feel like I've had friends over who are dating people who live in the same neighborhood, and like, I don't necessarily think that I have to invite their significant other. Like, I don't have so many scenarios, but sometimes it's nice if I'm friends with both of them. But I don't know. I guess maybe if once people get engaged, maybe I see them more as like,
no ring,
I'll
no
invite
ring.
both.
It's real. No ring, no ring.
Yeah, but also like at the same time, I think you can have your own identity and own friendships.
Yeah.
Outside, but you guys do happen to have a lot of the same friends. So it makes sense to be at the same meals. I've never like dated anyone like my exes like were not part of the same community that I was in. So like it's hard for me to say because I've never been in that position. Um, so I don't really know. I don't know. If you feel that you're being annoying, then maybe, but I don't know.
I want to feel that I'm being annoying.
You just think it's like too much time. You're wondering if it's too much time together?
To the point that like there are some nights when like evenings when like I won't go to his place to hang out and I'll just be hanging out by myself with myself at my own apartment. And I'm like, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
The alone time is so great. To just like veg out and watch TV by myself. I love that. I miss that.
Yeah.
So that's to say that it's good to spend time by myself, even though I like having a boyfriend. Anyway.
No, I think you just have to find like everyone's different and everyone's personality is different. Like I love being by myself, but I think it just is like a personal thing. It's like some people need to be with someone else all the time, and some people like being. I was actually talking to one of my friends about this because she's in a very serious relationship, talking about like engagement, and she's just like, but sometimes I just want my time or like time with my friends. And like she was telling me that like her boyfriend, she's a lot more social than he is. Like he it's also long distance and I was trying to like tell her that because she came here for a while and she was like, yeah, but I'm always with him. And then like the one time I wanted to go hang out with my friends, I could tell he was like a little sad. I'm like, but it's also long distance. Like you see it as like you're spending all this time with him, you just want time with your friends, and he's seeing it as like, oh, I only have
This much
time with you because we're not living the same. Because she was talking about that in terms of like getting married and living together. I'm like, as long as you communicate it, I think it's like not necessarily a big deal.
Right.
Like, you have to also understand that when you're married, you're not like going out every single night with your friends without your husband.
Right.
Like, there has to be balance. But it's also like, I don't know, even one of my friends who's married, she just had a baby. We went to a wedding and she's like, yeah, he's with the baby tonight. And then he is doing something with his friends tomorrow. And I'll be with the baby. Like, usually the two of them are together, teamwork with the baby. But she's like, yeah, like usually like I don't know if it was every week or every other like I don't know how often she said, but she's like, yeah, he'll say go out with your friends, and then he'll also go out. Like I think it's a perfectly healthy thing in any type of relationship to take the time, whether it's for yourself, like alone, or with other friends without the other person.
Yeah. Anyway, thinking about that.
Yeah.
That was just something that came up.
I have a bad frame of reference because my relationships were always medium distance, which like in New York means something totally different than like in the outside world. It's like they lived in the suburbs and like it was hard when you're both working to see each other more than like once or twice a week.
Right. So the last time I went out with a guy before being in this relationship, we matched on JSwipe, and I was like, oh my God, this app actually works and sent me someone relatively normal. This is insane. I don't miss it, JSwipe, at all, but that was a nice little reassurance that I guess it does some good. Sometimes
it just causes emotional trauma.
Exactly. But I was lucky that one time around it was good. And at the time, I think he lives closer to Newark, New Jersey now, but at the time he was living in Tom's River.
Well, that's far.
Which is like near Lakewood, which is far.
Yeah.
And so you could think in a certain way, like, oh, that's close, like New York, New Jersey.
No.
But really, it's not that close. And he had a car, which is great. But in a way, I felt that it was a long distance relationship. Maybe it was my naivete, or maybe like inexperience with dating that made me feel in the moment disappointed, that I was like, we've been talking for 3 months, we've gone out a couple times, but I don't feel that I know you, that I have the proper emotion that needs to be given to this relationship. And that frustrates and disappoints me. And I feel like that could be different if you made more of an effort to come see me.
Yeah.
And granted, he was trying his best, but it really was pretty infrequent when we would go out. Like, we were going out for, you could say going out for like 3 months, or in this situation for like 3 months, and only saw each other in person twice.
Oh, wow.
So it felt kind of long distance. His response to that was, well, actually, I would argue that, not argue, he wasn't angry about it, but in discussing it, he was like, actually, I would argue that emotionally we're in exactly where we need to be. We don't need to be any more intense or head over heels or committed than we are, because we don't know each other that well. Like, because of the distance, we don't know each other that well. It can grow with time, but like for right now at this juncture, that's okay. I was like, okay, I see your point, but also I want more. So like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna give me? Like, so that didn't work out. He stuck on my mind for a really long time, and I felt very much like, after that kind of falling apart, that I really missed out on something, and that it deserves another chance, and that going into it another time, were I to get that opportunity, I would be more flexible, and I would be more understanding, and I would be more relaxed with whatever time he is able to give. And so I wanted to get into that mindset and try again. So again, here I am, just like calling people up. And I called him up and I was like, listen, it's been 6 months. I haven't stopped thinking about you. Could we try this again? And he said, you know what? We can try this again. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But then it didn't last more than a week after that, because ultimately he still couldn't make it work.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I had the resources to get to Tom's River, I would go, but I didn't. And like, he had the car. And so I felt a little bummed out that that's kind of how it ended. He's a great guy. Wish him every happiness.
But I think also maybe he wasn't at a place, like,
right.
I think you two wanted different things, because I know this is like the classic saying, and we talked about it a lot, but like, if he wants to, he will.
Right.
And like, listen, I never dated a guy in Tom's River. Like, Tom's River is kind of far. Like, for those of you who don't live in like the New York area, I would say the Lakewood area is about a 2-hour drive from the city.
Yeah. And because it's New Jersey, you think it's close, but really it's the biggest schlep.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Yeah, it's probably about a 2-hour drive.
Here's the kicker though. My current boyfriend really doesn't even live so far from Tom's River. It doesn't even live so far from there anyway. So like,
but he lives here. Like, he you mean his family?
Right, his family.
His family's like lives there, but he lives in the city.
Right. But that's the kicker, which is like, when I went to go see his family, meet his family, whatever, like, I did have to go close to an hour and a half, like, out of the city.
Yeah.
So again, I guess that's what you say. If you want to make it work, you'll make it work.
Yeah. I don't know. I was talking to a friend about this, and like, again, my relationships we're not as far as Tom's River. Like, I would one of my exes lived in New Jersey, and like, but not deep into New Jersey, like Bergen County area,
North
which
Jersey.
yeah, so not so far into Jersey, like, and the way our schedule, like, you find something that works, and like, if he and it was funny because this just came up with one of my friends because we were talking about like putting an effort in relationships and doing what you care, and we just like brought up old examples, and I would say the way our schedules worked, he worked later than I did at that time. Like, I got out of work much earlier. I was working from home. So I could leave my apartment. Like, it just made more sense for me to go to him. He would pick me up from the bus. We would like go out, and then eventually, like when we were done, he would drive me home. And like that's what worked for us. He could have come into the city. Like he had a car and he drove me back. But the way it worked was I could leave my apartment by 6 o'clock and be to him by 7. And like, so we're together starting at 7, maybe sometimes even earlier. But if he were to come to me, he wouldn't be to me until after 8. So it just gave us more time to spend together. And like, if we did stuff on the weekend, like he would come into the city.
Right.
Like it was like give and take, but it was also like you find what works for you, but both parties have to put in effort.
Right.
And by the time I had my next relationship, I was at a different job that wasn't as flexible.
Right.
I worked later, and not even that it wasn't as flexible, but like I worked later. It wasn't as easy to get to him as it was for him to drive. He lived in Long Island at the time. And like for him to drive from Long Island, and like granted, he put in a lot of effort driving back and forth, and like I I definitely appreciated it and hopefully expressed it. Um but like he would come to me, and whether he picked me up and we went somewhere, we would stay here. Sometimes we even like he picked me up and drove back to Long Island, and we like only to drive me home later. But I just think as long as two people are on the same page, it can work, but you have to be on the same page in what you want
Right.
and in the amount of effort you want to put in.
Right. Right. You're right. Yeah. That's
Like, I don't know if this guy would have presented like, "Hey, why don't you take the train to this and this place? I'll come pick you up.
right.
We'll go out, and then I'll drive you home."
Right. So like I floated.
Or you can meet in like North Jersey somewhere.
Right.
Like
So
that
like
isn't as
I
far.
floated those like meet halfway ideas, or like you pick me up from here, but it just didn't.
It's because you were putting in that effort, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
Like both parties have to put in that same amount of effort.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, my current boyfriend puts in effort, so that's nice.
Which is good. I think everyone in a relationship has to put in effort. Like not just saying like, "Oh guys, you need to put in all the effort."
Right.
Like
No,
guy
it's work. It really is.
yeah, all relationships are work, and not all relationships the effort doesn't always look the same. It's
Yeah.
very like dependent on the people and what works for them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Leah, do you have any other stories or anything else you would like to share?
I think that's what I got.
Okay.
But I appreciate you being able to take me down this memory lane walk here.
No, it's fun.
It
It's
was
fun
great.
hearing about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll move into the wrap-up segment.
Yes. I heard all about it. I'm very excited.
Okay, Leah, I know we've been talking a lot about advice and everything, but can you give me and my listeners one piece of dating advice?
My one piece of dating advice is to expect the unexpected. I did not expect to find my way into having a relationship the way I did. It happened in a way I didn't expect, with a person I didn't expect. And I feel that it was my willingness to go along with the things that surprised me that really paid off in the end. So that's my one little nugget.
It's good. I like it. And I always say that too. It's like, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So just be ready for it and open to it.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, Leah, what is your Real Housewives tagline?
Okay. I'm kind of basing my assumption of what I don't watch that much reality TV, but
That's okay.
I think that my assumption and vision of what like the Real Housewives environment is, it's like I come from a really big family and we can have a lot of different personalities and dynamics and things going on. So the way I fit in the grand scheme of my family and when we're all together and under one roof is when I get overwhelmed, I withdraw. So I think that my Real Housewives tagline person would be the one who like runs away from conflict and like maybe finds herself in the middle of a conflict, but will like drop it and run. Like not necessarily push the conflict on other people, but hide until it's over and then like emerge and expect everything to like go their way. That's my personality, probably.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Leah, thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And Shady Situation Nation, it's a lot of fun being a guest on the podcast. So come be a guest. That's my final plug.
Come be a guest. It's so wonderful.
Yeah, it's a good plug. Send me a DM, send me an email, stickysituationspod on Instagram or stickysituationspod@gmail.com. Fill out the application. I like check it, so I know if you applied. But yeah, so that's another plug. And Sticky Situation Nation, you'll catch me next time. Bye, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.